Ben Shabibo. I kind of want to talk about this because, I mean, Ben will probably make a video on this, but Ben Shapiro wrote a Twitter thread about the Republicans and why they are losing. And let me tell you, unlike Ben's, easy tweets that get like 30K, 40K likes, this one didn't bang as much because he was saying like, Trumpism is actually hurting the Republican Party. Normally, he'll fucking turn around and say something along the lines of like, actually, trans people are weird. And then it's like 100K likes and everyone's like, yeah, you're so brilliant. But then when he puts his actual intellectual hat on for a brief moment and make some analysis as to why the Republican Party is currently underwhelming and underperforming, then it gets only 9,000 likes. Now, of course, that doesn't mean anything, but let's take a look at what he had to say. The Republicans are losing steam in the 2022 election. There are some reasons for this. The Democratic upswing in the wake of Dobbs being the most obvious factor. This definitely is playing a role. But there's something else going on here that represents a deeper problem for the Republican Party. The GOP is miscalibrating the very nature of American political sense seen right now based on a myth. In fact, the entirety of American politics is based on dueling versions of the same false mythology. The mythology of the emerging Democratic minority majority. MEDMM. Okay? Democrats have banked on this myth since 2012, believing that it excuses their cultural and economic excesses. This is untrue and has led them into an electoral box canyon as many minorities turn away from their woke progressive overreach. Yeah. There is no statistical bearing for this, but interesting enough that Ben's still saying that. And of course, the idea of the mythology of the emerging Democratic minority majority. I don't know what the excesses are, like the cultural and economic excesses within the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Republicans have also banked on MEDMM, the mythology of the emerging Democratic minority majority, to the extent that they believe only a magical person like Donald Trump can defeat it. This means that when Trump is attacked, Republicans immediately return to making him the centerpiece of the conversation, and this harms them electorally, as every poll is now showing. Two things can be true at once. First, the FBI raid on Trump looks like a political hit. Second, the more Republicans talk about Trump, the worse they do electorally. Americans vote against things, not for them. But this is the only true part about this. This is the only true part about this. And the main reason for why Americans vote against things and not for them is because usually the Democratic Party doesn't offer anything to vote for. Okay? You should vote for things. That's how it's supposed to work. You should vote for things. You should vote for nice things, good things, things that change for the better. That's partially the reason why you vote. That's why you take time out of your day in one of the countries where voting is not all that easy. If we're being real, that's one of the major issues here in America is that voting, not an easy process. Sorry, it's just the truth. And to anyone who says that's not really the case, I voted very easily in my fucking 30-person town. Well, that's not the case in big cities. Okay? And also, people can't take time out of their jobs. They can't take time out of their day. So, there are issues there. And that is by design. But everyone engages in defensive voting in this country. Okay? Everyone engages in that. If Republicans want Americans to vote against Biden, they have to campaign against him, not against the FBI or the deep state or whatever, or whatever Trump had the right to have the boxes or classified documents in his closet. This part isn't incorrect. I think the Republicans are having a very hard time with the reality that they have associated everything with Biden, which was good for them electorally when the economy was in the pooper, okay, when gas prices were like $8, right? But it's no longer good when gas prices are $4. The greatest example of this is something that we talked about in this stream months ago. When gas prices started going down, we were like, well, what about those fucking Biden I did this Jack stickers? Those stickers are now turning into campaign promises and campaign stickers. That's what happens when you say that Dark Brandon is the only reason for why you feel the economic struggle. Now the I did that sticker looks good. So there is truth to that a little bit. Okay? I mean, $4 is still ass. Brother, it's getting better though. And that's the point. Not $8 fucking dollars. I thought you were in hiding? What? No. I feel like people are unwell. Anyway, this was my favorite gas sticker. No way. Someone put a German sticker on there? No shot. Shit has been off since Saturday. Yeah, dude, it's a great day for schizo posters. I mean, schizo posters are rising the fuck up, okay? They are, they're having a great time. Anyway, so the thing that we were talking about, as far as like gas prices get better, all of a sudden the I did that looks good for Brandon. That turns into a positive for the campaign. Turns out, because the Democrats or because everyone, especially in the Republican Party, are so used to Democrats not doing anything at all for their voter base, okay, that they have no way of like fighting back when the Democrats do actually take some action. Now, is that action incredible? Of course not. Is it genuinely, truly, profoundly life-changing? For most people, of course not. But it's still something. When Brandon writes a fucking $10,000 check to 45 million Americans almost, all of a sudden, that's a good thing. They have to make that bad. They have to make the good thing bad. That's part of the reason why it's going to be a little bit harder for them to cut arguments. Because Republicans at the end are used to just like pretty basic shit. Republicans are used to, they're not exactly very intelligent. They don't have object permanence. You just got to tell them like, here's what's bad and Brandon is responsible for it. Look at that. You know, black people are coming to your neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, Brandon released 1 million black people into your neighborhood. That sort of thing. You can't fucking turn around and be like, well, actually, more money flow is going to greatly increase inflation, and this econ textbook proves that. Like, that sort of thing is not. That's not exactly a great way for Republicans to learn, understand why Brandon is bad. Okay? There's a reason the Democrats are eager to keep Trump at the center of the conversation. Half of the independents say Trump is a major factor in their vote, and they're breaking 4-1 for the Democrats. That's a huge, by the way, that's a huge number. Republicans shouldn't play that game. If they do, they're cruising for a bruising. So, Democrats, we don't want to talk about Biden, the economy, our perversion, the education system, or Afghanistan. Let's talk about Trump. Republicans, great idea. Let's talk about Trump. But why are Republicans losing momentum? A mystery wrapped in an enigma. That is so hard to say. Holy shit. I mean, what ads would they run? Biden increased the deficit. Any Republican saddled with student debt be like, who the fuck cares? Exactly. One of the things I've talked about so frequently is that the Democrats are responsible for the ratcheting of this political Overton window, right? Shifting so far to the right. Why are they responsible? Because they haven't offered a fight. Because reactionaries will always pull back on any kind of societal progress. But if the Democrats are not actually presenting something for them to fight against, for the Republicans to fight against, then Republicans are just going to take up previously fought for civil liberties away as a way to get a W. And sometimes they go a little too far. Part of the reason why I even believed that Roe v. Wade would not be overturned, the Dobbs decision, that I thought was going to be an insane thing. And you can find earlier videos of me from a couple years back where I was like, I don't think that the Republicans would legitimately overturn Roe v. Wade because it sounds insane and it would be drastic. It would be genuinely bad for the Republican Party's performance, partially as a consequence of the reality that they have already basically made it illegal to get an abortion in a red state. You know what I mean? It came true. That happened. I was ultimately right. Now, if the Democrats were able to craft a better response to this sort of thing, whether it's unilateral or not, and it doesn't even fucking matter, okay? If the Democrats were able to be like, nah, you can get an abortion and we're going to fucking, subsidize it or whatever. You know what I mean? Then they would even have a larger sea of support. But Brandon's approval numbers have gotten a lot better. Okay? And those approval numbers, well, at least in their recent polling, those approval numbers getting better. I think he jumped 6 points or something overall. And the reason why his approval numbers have gotten a lot better is because he's doing shit. Look at that. He's doing shit. When you do shit, people respond positively. They're like, all right, good. And there are still plenty of gimmies, like decriminalizing weed at the fucking federal level is a gimme, is a huge gimme. Taking away more student loan debt, another huge gimme. You look so dumb right now. Yeah, see? That's what happens. Dropping gas prices and loan debt is not much. Dude, are you kidding me? Relieving $10,000 worth of loans, student loans, from 45 million Americans almost is gigantic. I mean, they could do significantly more, right? But for the average working class person, that's a huge fucking dub. And it's not even just the $10,000 loans, but it's actually locking it to 5% of your income and making it so that as long as you pay that amount of money, you're good for fucking 12 years on interest free. You're no longer accruing interest. That's a huge part of the reason why you get, added on debt to your already existing massive amount of debt. What would the average Republican think of decriminalizing weed? Who gives a fuck what the average Republican thinks? For so many people, it's life-changing. It's a genuinely positive, very positive thing. The only criticism towards the Brandon debt relief is that they didn't do more of it. Okay? They hyper tailored this towards people that aren't making so much that it's considered offensive. They made it so they means tested it in a way that literally almost single-handedly destroys the counter of this is a gift to the wealthiest people. And then surprise, Republicans are still saying this is a gift wrapped to the wealthiest people, so it doesn't even fucking matter. It just doesn't even matter. They're still saying it. Not a single Republican was like, hold on now. This is not a gift wrap to the wealthiest people. Like, no, they're still saying it. Do you think America should be split up into 2 or more countries? No, I'm not in favor of balkanization. That's never worked, okay? I'm in favor of the Ottomanization. So, the main reason why Democrats are doing well is because Republicans actually went forward and took some electoral L's to finalize their long-standing campaign promises, which seemed weird because, you know, keeping abortion as the main reason, keeping abortion, which is only supported by keeping abortion as like a campaign promise, which is only supported by like 30% of the Republican Party anyway, or the entire voter base anyway. Keeping that as a fucking campaign promise was much better for the Republican Party overall than to actually follow through on it. Because now, once you have actually criminalized abortion, all of a sudden you have to do more. And the greatest example on the other side to the reaction to this, situation is that people like Blake Masters and everyone else is basically dialing it back. All of a sudden, abortion is no longer murder. Actually, we were just kidding. You know, some abortions are good. You know, they're greatly scaling that. They're greatly scaling that process back. And the reason why they're doing that is because they realize they're getting fucking hammered. They're getting cumstered. You can't actually, if you want to keep making your dog run, okay, you can't take the treat off the end of the stick. Dog's no longer gonna run when you give them the fucking treat. Republicans were slated for a big W in the midterms. Currently, not so much. Blake Masters went back to the tried and true shitting on diversity. Leadership of the Federal Reserve has become the most diverse ever. There are more female, black, and gay officials contributing to the central bank's interest rate decisions than any time in its 109-year history. This is the rhetoric we need, not that crappy abortion ad. You must not like being blatantly pandered to. Nobody does. Finally, a compelling explanation for why our economy is doing so well. Yeah, the homosexual black women at the fucking at the Federal Reserve is the reason for why they made such a ridiculous decision as to increase the interest rates. And like scale back on a decade of quantitative easing. I love that. Anyway. Ay. Jerome Powell is BIPOC. Do you think people will get mad at you for playing the Hogwarts game? Yeah, I might actually end up not playing it because these things are fucking popping off.